Hello everyone, I hope you are doing very well. So this video was going to be more about emotions and why you shouldn't be emotional. And the disadvantages of being emotional when it comes to mindset and stuff. But it kind of went down a different route. I was writing it out, I was like, it kind of developed into me kind of talking about that there's two kinds of people in this world. So I'm going to go down that route and let me know what you think of it in the comments. Because I'm sure this will trigger some people. So you have two kinds of people in this world. Okay, one, you have reasonable people. That's number one. And two, you have emotional people. But there is only one fundamental reason to why you have these two different kinds of people. The reasonable person is humble. They have the quality of humility, the virtue of humility. The emotional person is arrogant. So the complete opposite. So let's ask the question, if this is the case, what kind of ideas or concepts do people who are controlled by their own emotional volatility come up with? Feminism, veganism, sexual liberation movements, forms of isms within that, critical theory, those types of ideas that come from critical theory. Let's criticize everything. Let's be emotional and apply it to intellectualism, etc., etc. So, feminists and these types of emotional people in general are all controlled by their emotions, which means they are also very irresponsible, as would be anyone who's controlled by their emotions. They don't take accountability for their emotions. They'll often rather blame everything outside themselves in the real world than take accountability for why they feel the way they feel, or why they hate life, or for why their life sucks, and they just keep complaining about everything. So, emotional people are controlled by their emotions, and therefore they don't take responsibility for it, so they then project it out all onto the world. So it'd be like, I'm not the problem, it's the patriarchy. I'm not the problem, that's just religious bigotry. I'm not the problem, it's the family unit. I'm not the problem, it's men that are the problem. This type of thing. So, if you are controlled by your emotions, you are also very irresponsible of how you behave, right? Feel and act, because it's always never your fault. It's always the emotions that just come in and they take over you and they just cause you to be how you are. You don't have control over anything, you're controlled by the emotions. Therefore, you then start to project that responsibility of control, fault, and blame onto everyone else through righteous indignation. You blame the world and everyone else for your own problems rather than seek the solutions yourself. And this is partly why, I think all these emotional people, they're just doing rallies, they're doing protests, they're doing marches, they're shouting and crying about their, about their problems, they're making obnoxious public displays of virtue, doing all this kind of thing. They're not reasonable people. Because a reasonable person wouldn't be doing these types of things. They'd be more logical, be more diplomatic, they'd be more thorough, they'd think, they'd be more reasonable. So the only way in which they can represent their own ideas is through acts of self-righteous indignation, through virtue-signaling behaviours of moral superiority. Because that's the only way the emotions can kind of, we need to blame other people, we need to project that emotional volatility outwards, and, because it's not an emotional thing to have discourse. Discourse is the complete opposite of being emotional. So they do this by weaponizing their compassion, weaponizing their empathy. That's mostly the fundamental route to how these types of people do this type of thing, the emotional people. Now, this is because emotional people are arrogant. Like I said, I made the claim that they're arrogant, and then you've got the reasonable people, they're humble. So they're arrogant and prideful, which is also why, these types of people celebrate being prideful all the time without recognizing the sinful nature of pride. While reasonable people, on the flip side, reasonable people, on the other hand, are usually humble and respectful. Instead of being prideful, they are usually very religious. So this is the dichotomy, the differences, the duality differences here. The same reasons why emotional people are usually extremely liberal and progressive in being adamant in kind of denigrating cultural norms in society, whilst reasonable people, on the other hand, are more conservative, as they respect and understand the role and importance of tradition. But an arrogant person is never going to respect or understand the importance of tradition, because everything is about themselves. You know, tradition is not about you. Tradition is a very selfless thing. And it's all about how they feel. But tradition is selfless. It is about the complete opposite of being self-centered, because tradition aims and recognizes a higher good that goes beyond your self-centered interests of the individual. Instead, it aims towards the collective whole. It aims towards the community, the societal welfare of the people as a whole through various forms of objective truth. This is why tradition typically identifies the family as the most important unit within society, while progressivism, or whatever they believe, anti-tradition, does the complete opposite. It identifies the individual, the subjective individual, as the most important unit within society, and that we need to build all the values around being liberal and stuff like that. So tell me what you think. What do you think of my analysis? It's not the most thorough analysis. It's kind of, there's two types of people. There's reasonable people and there are emotional people. And this is how, there seems to be more conflict and more divide more than ever in society. And this is kind of how it kind of looks, really, from my perspective. So tell me what you think, and you will find out, by watching this video, if you're an emotional person or if you are a reasonable person. Because if you're a reasonable person, you won't emotionally react to this video. Comment, oh, how can you say this? Whatever. So let me know your thoughts. Are you emotional? Are you an emotional person, or are you a reasonable person? And if so, then are your values also aligned to what I just said? So let me know what you thought down below. Comment your thoughts down below. Give it a like, share it around. If you're interested in any kind of coaching or want to inquire about that, just let me know. And I'll speak to you in the next video. So thanks for watching. Goodbye.